things are looking a little dicey for the Browns, and that's the wide receiver position. You've got Jerry Jeudy, who, had a great season. I want to take nothing away from him, finished 6th overall in yards in the NFL. Awesome year. And what we're looking at right now is a 5th-year breakout first-round wide receiver who's now done it once.
Mm-hmm.
And before I crown him as this is an elite number 1 wide receiver, I'm going to need to see it repeated. That's what I need. I remember the Devontae Parker, 5th-year breakout for Miami. And then after that, it was kind of like, okay, he kind of went back to what he was. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen with Jeudy, but I need to see it. Cedric Tillman, I love the talent. The dude's had 2 good games in 2 seasons now. I don't know what I have. I really don't know what we've got in Cedric Tillman. I mean, he missed 7 games with a concussion. It's just not good. It's not a good situation. Then after that, you're looking at David Bell, Jamar Thrash, Michael Woods, who I think is is he a free agent? I don't know. Either way, we don't have a whole lot of depth. So we're going to need to address it a little bit in free agency. And I hope to God they draft 2 of these guys and 1 guy a little high. And I'm going to do an episode later on here about some of ththese rookie receivers because there's some guys I'm really excited about. But for this episode, I want to talk about Darius Slayton, formerly with the New York Giants, 6'1", 190 pounds. He's 28 years old, 5th-round pick by the Giants back in 2019. Now, Slayton is a big play, deep threat type of wide receiver, lots of speed, and just a good outside presence. Could be that outside, take the top off the defense guy that we want to have out there alongside Jeudy and Tillman. The quarterback play in New York, and here I am a Browns fan talking about bad quarterback play, but it hasn't been great in New York. And his numbers aren't crazy over his career, but he has still led the team in receiving yards in 4 of his 5 seasons there. Spotrac has a market value at 3-year deal worth $15.8 million annually. So now if that's the case, I'm probably out on Slayton because he just signed a 2-year extension with the Giants for $6 million per year before this. He's never had more than 50 catches in a season. 770 yards is his career high. He had 8 touchdowns as a rookie, but he has not eclipsed 4 in a year since then. The $15.8 million mark would put him just below Jerry Jeudy in terms of wide receivers, average annual salary. So for that value, like I said, probably out. Don't think the Browns would spend that much on a free agent wide receiver anyway. And while that number might sound crazy to some of you guys, we see these free agent wide receivers get way too much money every year because, like I said at the top of the show, the talent just isn't there. So teams that are desperate for wide receiver and they can't get a good one in the draft or whatever reason, they'll go out and they'll spend like the Jaguars did last year on Gabe Davis. Way too much money for Gabe Davis, but he was the cream of the crop for the wide receiver position last year in free agency. So that's what happens. So if Darius Slayton is unaffordable because, he's being offered way too much from other teams, then I'm going to move way down the market value chart and I'm going to look at 2 other guys. I'm going to look at, the first one is KJ Osborn. So KJ Osborn was an awesome wide receiver 3 when he was with the Vikings. Again, another Kevin connection. 655 yards his second season, followed by 650 and then 540 yards. 15 total touchdowns over that 3-year span, those are great numbers for a guy who's playing behind Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and then Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson. Like there were mouths to feed, plus the running backs, Dalvin Cook. I mean, it was a great offense, and he made his name known in that offense. So Spotrac projects a 1-year deal for just $2.4 million for a guy like KJ Osborn. I love the idea of bringing him in at that price. Last year, he signed as a free agent with the New England Patriots for $4 million. Production last year, hardly anything to speak of. The Patriots offense was terrible last year, and he only has 7 catches for 57 yards and a touchdown on the season. So I think you could get him for the cheap, but he's shown in the past in Minnesota that he can be a pretty effective complementary piece at the wide receiver position. And then the third guy in this little 3-for-1 that I'm doing is a guy you guys we're all familiar with, and it's Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore projected at around a $4.5 million contract. Our quarterback play in Cleveland has not been the best to speak of. And when we actually did have competent guys like Joe Flacco, Jameis Winston throwing the ball, Elijah Moore showed what he can do on the field. And I'd be happy to have him back in Cleveland in 2025. He had 640 yards and then 538 in his 2 seasons in Cleveland. Those were the 2 highest yardage seasons in his 4-year career. Not bad considering that the other, Amari Cooper, Njoku, Jeudy, these other guys on the team, plus the quarterback play was atrocious. He scored just 3 touchdowns during the 2 years in Cleveland. He had 6 in his 2 seasons before that with the Jets. Granted, 5 of those came in his rookie season. But he did have over 100 targets both seasons in Cleveland. And I think he's a tough player. And I think at that price point, I would like to have Elijah Moore back on the team.
Yeah, I agree. I don't dislike Elijah Moore. I don't think he's been utilized properly.
No.
I don't think Ken Dorsey's offense really did any good for him. I never understood why that guy, I believe he was a special teams player and returned kicks and punts. I don't know why he doesn't do that for the Browns when they maximize that potential of his talent. But I'd be totally into signing him. He doesn't seem to drop anything.
No, he's very sure-handed. We talked about that when we traded for him. His true catch percentage or something like that, over expected, basically. I mean, he's getting crap targets thrown at him from Zach Wilson and whoever else in New York. And it was like 90-some%. I mean, he was catching well over the number of passes that he was expected to be catching. And the thing with Elijah Moore, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I remember talking about this on an episode last year. In 2023, the first part of the season, the Browns were playing him in the slot pretty much exclusively, if you go look at the snap percentages. And that's not where he thrives. I know he's a smaller receiver, and you would think smaller, these quick guys, that's probably a good position for them in the slot, but he's actually better on the outside. And the second half of the season, I forget what the situation was. We traded Donovan Peoples-Jones. That's what it was. So Tillman was still kind of coming along. So they were moving Elijah Moore. His snap percentages outside, actually, it flipped. He went primarily from the slot to primarily on the outside. And that's where his production went up in the second half of 2023 because he is an outside receiver. And you talked multiple times in this episode, playing guys out of position. This guy fits this scheme. This guy fits this. You got to play guys where they're best. I mean, yes, some guys are very adaptable and versatile and can, switch positions and excel, but some guys are just really good at a specific thing. And when you try to put them out of that, you're losing everything you could get out of them.
Yeah, he seems to have the talent, and nobody seems to know how to tap into that for some reason.
I know, it's crazy, but I like him. And either way, we got to add wide receivers badly. So these are some of the ones that I was looking through and thinking, okay, I would like to see at least one of these guys on the team.
Yeah, I'm surprised KJ Osborn hasn't been part of the Browns yet, just based on the connections with Stefanski. I've always seen his name kind of pop up when he's been available, or even a possible throw a 7th or a 6th round out just to get this guy wherever he's signed. And it's never materialized for whatever reason. Yeah,
this could be the year, though, because last year we were going in the season thinking, okay, the receiver room was pretty filled out. There wasn't a whole lot of extra space, because you still had high hopes for, David Bell or I guess some hopes for David Bell. I shouldn't say high. And there was Amari Cooper, Judy, Tillman, all these guys. So they weren't doing a whole lot in free agency, but this year they're going to have to.